shit is bananas. BANANA. uh, just an endless amount of video game announcements in the last week. It's June 16th, 2022, and welcome to the S Rank Media Club. I'm Colton Wallace, joined by my co-host Quinn Foster
Hey everybody, how's it going?
and Kudrow.
Good evening, everyone.
So, we got a lot of video game announcements to cover for you. We're going to talk a lot about the Xbox Bethesda showcase. Going to talk a little bit about Starfield. We're also going to be ranking Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom this week. But yeah, Quinn, how's the week been?
Pretty good. Had a chance to check out this new, Battle Royale game from, I believe it's from Epic Games. That's a wrestling game,
Yeah,
which was kind of interesting. Yeah, it's called Rumbleverse. They had open early access last Saturday, so I was able to try that out. It was pretty interesting. It took a minute for me to get used to the controls. I did play on controller. You could play on keyboard and mouse if you wanted, but honestly it grew on me. Initially, I was a little hesitant to start letting myself enjoy it, but we'll see how it goes. I believe it's going to be free to play, so it might be worth checking out.
Does it play like it's like a melee combat game, correct?
Yeah, so you start off in on a boat or something like that off the coast of the Battle Royale island, and then you launch out of like a cannon, and then it's like a melee type game, but you pick up consumables, and the way it works is you have there's only a certain amount of buffs you can add per game. So you have these different bars that you can add to. And there's health buffs, which increases your health by, I believe, 10 points. Health points are 100 health points or something like that.
Okay.
Your stamina buff, which is your stamina is what allows you to attack and do different moves. So there's specialized moves, and then there's the regular hitting moves. I don't know.
So does it remind you of a 1v1 fighting game at all, or does it remind you of a wrestling game? Is there anything it reminds you of, or does it feel kind of like its own new thing, like Super Smash Brothers? Do you get any of that at all?
Not really.
No. Okay.
Not really Super Smash Bros. I've never really played any other wrestling or fighting games that often. It didn't really feel like any of Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, in my opinion.
Okay.
It's very cartoonish, animated, so it's kind of silly in that way. But
yeah,
you pick up these different special attacks, which are you can do different pile drivers, or you kick them, or
sure.
the classic wrestling moves. Kind of interesting. So
okay.
I definitely recommend checking it out when it drops. I'm not sure when that is, but it's free to play.
I was interested to try it out as well, but they only took so many, it appears, because I didn't put my email in until later on in the day because I was like, oh, I should do this, and then I clicked on it and it wasn't available at that time. By the time I came back, it was the Saturday, because it only lasted 24 hours. So I got an email back saying we'll let you know when it's ready, and then I just never got the email, so I didn't make the time for that one.
Interesting. Yeah. My last thoughts, I guess, on that is my worries going into it was kind of the mobility issue. I didn't really see how they were going to do that. So within the game, you use your stamina to you can sprint essentially. So you use up a little bit of your stamina to kind of move faster, which will obviously put you at a disadvantage if you're being chased, or if you're running away. And then you can also climb. It takes place within a city, so you essentially can climb up the sides of buildings. You dig your hands into the sides of buildings to climb up. So it's not super realistic, but it's within the game. And I think it's pretty cool.
Once you get how long do the games last? Once you get taken down to zero, you're out completely.
Yeah, so as soon as you get knocked out, the game's over. There's no reviving portion of this time, at least that what I saw. And there was only single player. You couldn't play duo, so you couldn't play with your friends.
Interesting. I suppose a lot of that could be added in the full release. This was obviously just a 24-hour test, so yeah, interesting to see stuff on that in the future.
Yeah, I guess I'll give it my initial rating.
Oh, we're gonna rate the one day beta here. Oh,
I'd rate it.
Hey, let's go. Yeah, let's do it.
I put it at a solid B. Okay. I think it's. I probably wouldn't spend money on it.
Yeah.
But it'd be something I'd like mess around with every once in a while. Assuming that they keep improving it and stuff like that. Maybe add new maps or I don't know whatever they can add to it.
Interesting.
So yeah. I played a bit of Rocket League this week. Also Valorant, pretty normal week, but a new Rocket League season dropped, I believe, yesterday.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was a pretty big update. They really, I think, did some internal tweaking with the game. They added a new color to items, so now there's gold coloring.
Oh. I just do all burnt sienna personally.
Yeah.
Everything else I trade in. If it's not burnt sienna, I trade it in.
Yeah. So we'll see how it seems like they're trying to really kick it up a gear. I think Rocket League is, I know we've talked about before how Psyonix doesn't seem like they're really doing too much with the game, but
in a way though, if they're still making money off of it, then to me, Rocket League is just such a good game to come back to. Like in a way, they don't want to mess with the perfection they stumbled into with the game that Rocket League is. But I actually have been playing a little bit of Rocket League lately, and big mess up by me. I've been playing a lot, so I was sitting there on Saturday. I'm like, I've been playing a lot. I should buy the season pass. I didn't even look that the season pass ended in 5 days, and I already had credits in my account. I'm like, yeah, let's buy the season pass. And then I don't know, later on that day I was playing and it said new season starts in 5 days, and I was like, shit. Luckily, it retroactively takes all the season long premium unlocks, so I got a bunch of stuff out of it anyways. So
that's good.
It's cool. So I've been playing a little bit more of that, and I'll definitely check out what the new season is. But for me, for I don't know, a couple years, I haven't cared about any of the unlocks in Rocket League. So it'd be cool if they had anything I wanted, but
yeah, I kind of just first impressions from the online community, I guess. They thought it was sort of a better Rocket Pass than the previous ones. So I think there's some optimism there. And then the new map that dropped was also something that people liked compared to older maps. I know last season map got a lot of hate because they essentially took a map that was already in the game and put a filter on it. So it looked kind of cartoonish.
Yeah,
but it was really hard to play. It's really hard to play on. It kind of hurts your eyes sometimes. So
I'll have to try some of that out this week. Like I said, I've been playing.
Yeah.
So you said there's new Valorant season too?
Yeah, new Valorant season comes out next week. I believe Thursday. I want to say next week Thursday or Wednesday.
New character?
No new character, new map.
Gotcha.
So maps are a bit of a touchy subject in the Valorant community. Everybody has their own opinions. This new map is, I believe it's based in Portugal, but it's underwater. So they got this kind of dome shaped thing over top of
Blitzball.
And
it's underwater. It's from fun. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Essentially the story is that climate change caused this city to go underwater, and essentially it's called radianite, which is this mineral or material that's mined within the
unobtainium,
something like that. Right. So but they use that to power the dome that covers the city, and then that's kind of where the map takes place. And it looks kind of interesting. It's very dense. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously everybody has their own opinions, so but yeah, new battle pass, new bundles, no new agent though. So
gotcha.
That's pretty much it. I did media wise, entertainment. Obviously, I watched Indiana Jones movie, but I did watch some MasterChef, some of the old MasterChef, and then Hotel Hell, I
Okay.
believe it's called.
Okay.
So both Gordon Ramsay kind of shows, and I don't know, something about Gordon Ramsay shows kind of, they're just always entertaining because you're always on Gordon Ramsay's side, I feel like, and you're just like, you just love shitting on the people in the show. So
he seems a bit aggressive. I don't know. I can't say
that's his shtick.
Shows though. I've seen like clips from him, obviously, but I don't know that I've like really seen a lot of the shows.
I mean, I was on Hulu just trying to figure out what to watch, and there's just every single like Gordon Ramsay reality like competition is on there. That was insane.
From chat, we have Idiot Sandwich, which kind of sparked something in me. The one thing I remember is this Gordon Ramsay clip where he tells this guy, he says, "Why don't you roll on out of here, you fucking donut?" And that's the one thing I remember from Gordon Ramsay.
Yep. Yeah, he always has the best one-liners.
Yeah. So, Kudrow, what have you been up to this past week?
Honestly, not much. I think as far as media consumption goes, the only thing I've really been doing is because season 3 of The Boys just dropped on Amazon Prime.
Mhm.
I was rewatching season 1 and 2, and I caught up on all the current episodes that I think are released.
Mhm.
So I'd say that's really about it.
Gotcha. So you watched all of the new season too?
Yeah, so far. I think there are 4 episodes in right now. Assuming
okay.
one
So
hasn't been released since the last time I looked. I actually don't know what
gotcha.
day new episodes release.
I got you. Yeah, I watched 1 and 2 that, and I liked them a lot. So I will be checking out the new season as well soon.
So far, go ahead, Quinn.
I was just gonna say, so it is a weekly release then. It's not all at once.
Yeah, they're not doing the Netflix thing right now. They're releasing them episode at a time.
Yeah, if you have not seen The Boys and you like kind of darker takes on superhero stuff and maybe the overly ecstatic joyfulness of the Avengers bothers you, you should watch The Boys because it's amazing.
Yeah, it does a really good job of kind of deconstructing a lot of traditional superhero tropes and
Yeah.
a lot of the problem with like marketing and big corporations and things like that. It does it really well, though. Of course, the irony of that being is that it's produced by what could arguably be considered a modern day VOT.
Yeah, I agree though. The way it like just tries to put a reality kind of lens onto the superhero like corporation it's great. It's such an like good at what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So me this week, I watched the movie Old from 2021 by M. Night Shyamalan. He was the director. That's streaming on HBO Max. And let me tell you, that's a terrible movie and you should not watch it. Just don't watch it. It's one of the worst movies I think I've ever seen. So it's just really slow. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I can't even like recommend it as like a hate watch or like a funny thing just because it just makes you mad. You're just like, where the fuck are they coming up with this stuff? And then M. Night Shyamalan even makes an appearance in the movie, and then just like the stuff gets more and more nonsensical it goes along.
So is it a horror movie or what kind of genre would you put on this?
It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, so they just try to make all this weird twisty shit happen, but this is probably one of the worst ones of his I've seen, and I don't know if you call it a horror, like a thriller maybe, but it does a bad job of any of it. And I don't think you should watch it, and I'm going to spoil it here. I'm just going to tell you all the terrible things about it. So we're going to put up a spoiler timer, and I got 2 minutes to spoil the shit out of Old. So mute yourself for the next 2 minutes. You'll see a little clock come up. All right. So spoiler time for Old. They're stuck on a beach and they're unable to leave. And then they meet the guy's already here. There's this guy already on the beach, and it's just like this guy who watched this girl go into the ocean. You find out later she's dead. But anyways, the guy's a rapper, and his name's Mid-Size Sedan. Funniest part about the movie is that there's a rapper named Mid-Size Sedan. Then so the whole deal with the movie is they age enormous amounts very quickly. Like within a day, they've aged like 40 years. And then they try to make it all like scientific, like, oh well, our cells are growing faster, so we need to do this. Fucking senseless. Then everybody gets really fucking disabled as they turn like 50 on the island, like all of them. And then one of the two youngest ones, they're like middle aged by the end of the movie, and they're like, yeah, we gotta, it's all in the rocks, and we've got to find like a metal tube to protect ourselves from the effects. Fucking insane. They end up swimming out to a coral because of a kid they met earlier in the movie as children, who gave them like this thing that said, my uncle hates the coral. So that's how they escape. Then when they escape, they're out in like way out in the ocean, and somehow they just get back to the resort, unexplained. They show up and they walk up to this guy and like, you're a cop, right? And they hand him this notebook with all these notes they found from the beach, because people had died there before. They could see a guy with a camera up on the ledge, they thought. So they were running experiments basically, and it cuts to this like lab underground where they're like, we're killing these, but we're saving millions. Fucking crazy. Anyways, then they find the cop, and then the cops, like 30 seconds later, the cop walks through and arrests everybody. Like, oh, this notebook just let you arrest everybody immediately. So this movie gets an F. It was terrible. Please don't watch it. I just ruined it for you, so don't watch it. All right. That was a fun little spoiler chat. All right, the spoiler chat is over, and the movie Old received an F. It's, please don't watch it.
I mean,
so you don't get attached.
Go
ahead, Goudreau.
I was saying, like, I don't know why you'd watch. I'm not sure why you'd watch an M. Night Shyamalan film. I feel like he hasn't really produced anything worthwhile since The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, so I had heard it was bad, but I was, so this was on Saturday night. My wife and I went out to dinner, and we came home. We were sitting on the couch, and I was like, you want to watch a movie? And like, I'm scrolling through, I'm like, Old, and I read it to her, and I'm like, you want to watch this? And she was like, yeah, okay. And I don't think she knew all the bad reviews. So I'm like, all right, we're going to watch it. Oh, man. So the other thing I did this week was I finished Sniper Elite 5. And it was a fun game. Like, I like Sniper Elite 5 a lot, but it does have its issues as you get deeper into it. Like, it has some really fun moments of like sneaking around and sniping people, and like I talked about on a previous episode, like the comedical like Hitman stuff where you could like kill people and pile them up into a room. And I did find I was getting better at the game towards the end, where I was able to pull off more complicated maneuvers and kind of play with the AI a little bit. So finishing the game on difficulty 4 out of 5 was really fun, and that gives you like radar and stuff, and you can see when enemies are hunting you. And kind of where the game can have its issues is where you get into this loop where if any enemy sees you, they all go into like this red state where they're all like searching for you and they're in combat. And then it kind of feels like you just have to sit around and wait for 5 minutes hidden in the bushes until they stop. And I think some people who enjoy that might say, oh, that's kind of the way it is. Like, that's the fun of it. It's that slow crawl. And there are cool things when you do apply great stealth and like pull off an awesome kill and another awesome kill, like start chaining stuff together and like really sneaking through everything. You do feel that like that payoff. However, when it becomes me just like hiding in bushes for 5 minutes, stepping out, one guy sees me, I have to go hide for another like 4 minutes. I don't love that. I don't love that part of it. But on the 4 out of 5 difficulty, it was manageable and I enjoyed the game. Now after that, I was like, okay, I like this a lot. I want to try it on the highest difficulty, which is authentic. And authentic takes away all your HUD. So you can't tell when the enemies are searching for you outside of like them yelling or setting alarms off. And you get no like aid on your sniper scope. So you have to find them, scope it in, which that part was cool. But the fact that you can't tell if the enemies are hunting you or not just makes it really kind of grinds further on that whole thing where you just have to sit there and wait forever. And like somebody sees you and like, oh, I guess I got to hide for another 5 minutes.
Right. It's very meticulous. Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And some of the AI, like it's fun, but I do wish the AI had some more interactions maybe or different kind of play, but I think overall, I would say Sniper Elite. I would rank it as I'm torn. I'm in like the B plus, and I think I would go B plus. I do have fun with it as it's like stealth gameplay, but it does fall short on some of it. I wish the AI was a little different. I wish there was something about that constant waiting cycle I get into sometimes with it. But if you have Game Pass, 100% check this game out. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Just real quick.
Yeah,
when
so-
you say completing the game, what kind of is it? Just all one campaign, or
Yeah, no, great question. So they have 9 missions you can play through, and there's a bunch of side objectives. So and you can get up to 3 stars if you complete all the objectives and side objectives. I think I 3-starred maybe 4 or 5 of them, and then I 2-starred the other 4. And then I started playing on authentic. Like if I was gonna play again, I'd probably try a little more on authentic. And also there's a multiplayer element. You can like get invaded like in Dark Souls. Like if you turn invasions on, it'll pop up and say sniper so and so has invaded your game. And then you're playing the level, but also there is an enemy player sniper that can shoot you. And then there's also a multiplayer element, which I have not tried. Maybe I will at some point, but definitely if you have Game Pass, try it out. Yeah. So that was my week. So from here, I guess we'll move on to our weekly group media. So over the past week, all 3 of us, and hopefully some of you out there, watched Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And today we're going to rank it. So we're kind of on an Indiana Jones kick here. Last week we watched, what's the first one called?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark last week. We watched Temple of Doom this week, and we're going to watch The Last Crusade next week. So I gave Raiders of the Lost Ark a D+, and then did you guys give it a C? Was it?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so that's where we're starting at. So I guess I'll give a quick description here. So Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, which I just figured out when reading the description, actually takes place before Raiders of the Lost Ark, even though it came out after. So in 1935, Indiana Jones arrives in India, still part of the British Empire, and is asked to find a mystical stone. He then stumbles upon a secret cult committing enslavement and human sacrifices in the catacombs of an ancient palace. So what did you guys think of the Temple of Doom?
Do you want to go first, Kudrow, or do you want me to jump on
Go for it, Quinn.
So the more that I'm thinking about like what I watched, the more questions I inherently have about this movie. And I'm just realizing, like, just from the beginning, the beginning scene, which I wouldn't even say we would spoil.
Yeah,
because it really doesn't have
sorry.
any impact on the rest of the movie.
So for our weekly media group experiences, there will be spoilers. We're gonna walk through the whole movie here. So yeah, there will be spoilers for this. So you're in spoiler territory for Temple.
So yeah, so he starts off negotiating with, I believe, Japanese businessmen, correct?
Well,
I think
I
they
don't
were
think
Chinese.
Chinese, right? It was a Shanghai, right?
Yeah, his child friend.
Yeah,
is
sorry, Chinese. Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, short round. The little Chinese kid. Anyway, they're like at some party, and then he ends up getting poisoned because he doesn't want to give this artifact to them, and then they make a great escape, as he always does.
Always. The whole movie is a fucking escape. All the movies of Indiana the longest
right. So he makes it to India, like the description says, but there's this whole, I don't even know how long it was. It was probably 20 minutes at the beginning of the movie that was essentially irrelevant to the rest of the plot, right?
Yeah, I guess if we're gonna walk through this step by step, I got a lot of. So yeah, the first scene, right? Let's talk about the opening scene. Was that supposed to be like a James Bond kind of thing? Because they had like
so.
The lady like sang a song at the beginning, and that's like a staple of the James Bond movies. They have a song kind of play at the beginning with things, and she does a song, and then it's like I really got James Bond vibes from that first scene in that party, and then
like the performance.
Yeah, the way he kind of is acting, like he's got a suit on, and it's like it struck me as totally James Bond. And I don't know if that's what they were trying to do, but that's what it read to me.
Yeah.
And I still see the Han Solo too in his like negotiating scenes. I'm like, well, you saw Han Solo, you're like, what if he was not in space? And he
Right.
was-
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So like I guess that's, unless you want to add anything, Kudrow, that's kind of like the beginning is like really has no effect on the rest of the movie besides showing how he gets to the main area with the
That's
plot,
it.
which is India.
That's where you get Willie, though.
Yeah, that is where you get the most annoying character in the film.
Unfortunately, yes, unfortunately. And that's where you get Shorty, the second most annoying character in the film.
I'm a little bit more forgiving of Shorty than Willie, but yeah, I think the one thing I probably will say is like, you know, the believability of so like after that whole incident, they're flying the plane, and then like as they're taking the raft down, how that raft did not flip over
Right.
like
Yeah.
multiple times, whether it be like on the way down to the snow when they're sliding down or when they're falling into the river. How
Yeah.
that did not fall over and kill them, other than just movie magic and ignoring the laws of physics, I'll never know.
Yeah. Just the chase scenes and like that first chase scene like just went on too long. And then before you can even catch your breath, they got on the plane. You're like, well, this isn't going to turn out well because it's Indiana Jones. They're going to get in some sort of terrible fucking escape scene. But yeah, that fucking thing where they go and they do the boat, impossible. But not for Indiana.
Yeah. I think it's more of a of the times, you know, like people are probably just amazed, like, oh yeah, there he goes, Indiana Jones does it again, like he's my hero.
Yeah, against other movies in the 80s, yeah.
Right. So I can understand it. I think that's like the whole trope of Indiana Jones, like you say, like he's escaping, constantly escaping, and that really showed too. Like I said, when I was just thinking about watching it, I didn't watch it all in one part because I don't know, I just couldn't do it. I had to stop halfway through and watch it in two parts.
Yeah.
And then as I was finishing it, I'm like, holy shit, this is long. Like this just keeps going.
Right. So I feel like this one, the first hour I liked much better than the second hour. I feel like the whole second hour of that movie just drags so hard. I mean, so after we go to India, right? They're going to India to go towards this palace. And what's up with the bats? There's like 4 or 5 scenes where they just go National Geographic on these vampire bats, and the bats are a huge deal. And then this is where we get into Willie screaming. So Willie screams like the entire movie. How many times does Willie scream in the movie? It has to be 30 plus, right?
Right. And backstory, Willie is the woman that somehow Indiana Jones kidnaps, essentially, from.
Yeah. And then like they have these, speaking of Willie, they have like these weird scenes where it doesn't feel like there's a love interest there, but then like all of a sudden there is, and it feels like it comes out of nowhere, and Willie just screams all the time. Worst character.
Yeah. I mean, it's ultimately came down to the damsel in distress, right? And then Indiana Jones is like the bad boy hero and like, does whatever he wants.
I feel like they really took the damsel in distress to the extreme and just pounded it on for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I don't know. One qualm with kind of the middle of the movie for me was there's all this like backstory about like this rock and like the gods and all this magic stuff and religion that to me, I could have, slowed it down and like, tried to understand it. But to me, it just wasn't worth it. I don't know why. I didn't feel like getting into the weeds in it, and I just let it go.
Comparing this to the first one, I feel like the dialogue scenes and discussion scenes in this one are far worse than the first one. I don't know why. They just don't interest me at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, then you go to the palace where they're like eating dinner. And then what? Okay, the giant bugs where they're just like eating the giant beetles, and then when they eat out of the gorilla heads, I don't know. I was on board with canceling Indiana Jones right there. I'm like, you can't. This is not.
I think there were a couple things going on with that scene because So it seemed like the Thuggee who at that point, had already they have the palace. So I
Yeah.
think they were just trying to get the Indiana Jones and the British general to leave
Yeah.
by serving them all this disgusting food.
Oh, was that? I missed that then. I was just like, what in the
Uh,
hell?
I mean, I don't know because it's really not
No.
explained that well,
I mean, your
if at
idea.
all. I think that's just kind of what I'm trying to infer from it. Maybe that's what it is, or perhaps it's just this ridiculous mischaracterization of Hindu and Indian diets, which, for the record, if you don't know, is mostly vegetarian.
Yeah, the whole like eating the food out of the like what is that like the monkey or gorilla heads that was the point where I was like from the chat hashtag cancel Indiana Jones, they're getting on board.
Yeah, the monkey brains, the monkey brains. To me, like it came across as like an anti-Visit India ad, essentially. Like they're not helping India at all. Like throughout the whole movie, they're just constantly bashing
But
everything.
at the end when they save all the children, everything's good.
Oh, right, but the food, like the poverty, essentially, like they were not showing any glamorous sides of India, and that included like the religious aspect of it too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they stereotyped when you look at Short Round, the kid,
Wait, you could
like
call
some
him
of the stuff he's saying.
he calls him Shorty,
his-
right? What
His name, his full name is Short Round.
Oh,
He calls him Shorty.
I don't think that's his actual name. I think it's a nickname, but I can't think of what the character's actual name is. Let me look that up.
Yeah, I know from I believe it's Lego Indiana Jones. He calls him Short Round, and that's what I assumed his name was. I doubt that's his actual name, like Kudro's saying.
I feel like this palace scene is where the movie starts to really go downhill. Because then after this, you get the scene where Indiana Jones gets attacked in his room when they go to sleep at the palace. And then, like, obviously, he fights the guy off, kicks shit out of him. He's Indiana Jones. So then he finds a secret pathway with his magic superpowers. We'll talk about superpowers later on. Then he goes and he's in this like tomb underneath the palace, I guess, and he gets trapped. And then him and Shorty get trapped, but then they can yell, and somehow Willie can hear them from like far as fuck away, like really far away, and Willie can somehow hear them. Anyways, Willie comes down and saves them, and then they just go deeper and deeper into this like catacomb. From the chat about the representation of India, 1960. So the movie is set in 1935. So then from there it just goes on, I feel like forever. It just goes on forever with this catacombs and climbing down until they get down to the exciting part, the Temple of Doom. So let's talk about the Temple of Doom and like the shenanigans that happen there.
Do we want to preface it with why they went to that place in the first place? They made it to this Indian village, and they had all their children were gone, and the sacred stone was gone. So Indiana Jones lit up at the opportunity to go for some fame and glory to recover this artifact. And yeah, so everybody from the village that was a child got essentially kidnapped and taken there, and we don't know why yet, but we soon come to find out.
Do we ever know why they just kidnapped all children to do the physical labor?
Well,
Yes.
I'd say they're effectively slave labor. They're digging in the area because, according to that Thuggee leader later on, he hid the last two sacred stones that they're looking for.
Yeah.
In that keep. So they're digging for them.
Why didn't they like enslave older people? Why did they enslave all children? Was that ever explained? Because I wondered that. I'm like, well, why all the children? They're not going to be your best workers. They're little children.
Yeah, but probably easier to boss around and bully.
I suppose
easier to handle.
They were able to just go steal all those children.
Yo, get in the van. We got free candy.
Anyways, we'll skip beyond that. But that was a question I had. I'm like, wait, why is it just all the children? And like, because at the end of the movie, all the children just come running back and everything's fixed because they stole all the children. But yeah. So that they go to get the artifacts, and then when they sneak into like the what would you call it, like the
altar or like the
yeah, they can see a skull and it's got these glowing 3 pieces in it, and those are the MacGuffins. What are they called?
I don't remember what they're called. Those sacred stones,
something like that. Yeah.
Not important.
What does Thanos collect? They're the Chaos Emeralds.
That's Sonic.
Yeah, Sonic is Chaos Emeralds. Thanos was the oh god. Oh, this is gonna bother me.
Infinity Stones.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was close. So, anyways, Indiana gets there and he's like, I'm not leaving here without stealing these cultural artifacts. And then they proceed to, this is where we get into superpower territory. Indiana Jones takes his whip, just throws it at something, and like Spider-Man, it just sticks. Like, if you watch any of the whip scenes, it's amazing what Indiana Jones can like just stick to and swing across. Because he doesn't like with a whip, like where you would whip and then swing with it before it untangles. He sticks it, then just swings on it. And then you got the guy who can pull people's hearts out. So part of the in this movie, which I don't know why they do it actually, but the leader guy who has like a red painted head gets a person. His superpower is he can stick his hand and rip people's hearts out, and then he puts them in this cage and then sends them down into this lava pit below. And I don't know why. Actually, I don't know why he does that. Is that like a stat?
I don't know. I'm just laughing because I have no idea what's going on in this movie.
Yeah.
It seemed like based on the fact that they tried to sacrifice Willie later in the movie when Indy was talking, it's like, Kali demands human sacrifices or whatever. And in this film,
they did say that.
Yeah, the Thuggee or the groups in this one are supposed to be, Kali cultists or whatever.
Thanks for that information, Kudrow. That I totally forgot about that stuff. So I guess then like they figure out that they have to drink some kind of blood, and that makes them like crazy or like under some sort of spell. And then of course they do this to Indiana Jones after like capturing him because he gets a hold of these crystals. Then the leader of the cult comes out and he's like, I'm Thanos and I need all 5 of these things so I can rule the world. And then they capture Indiana Jones and they hold him down and they make him drink the blood. And then Shorty's there too, yelling at him to not drink it, spit it out. But I guess it works because he becomes like dazed or whatever. He becomes under the spell. And then Willie gets captured and they're going to put Willie into the fire because they need to sacrifice people. So Willie.
Right. And this is where I just want to say this is where like the unimaginable, like in terms of length, like chase scene begins. Like this is like the very beginning, and then
anyway, right, they do that. So then they go through this whole thing where Willie's getting pushed down there, and then Shorty comes up and he does something to Indiana Jones. I forgot what it was.
Burns him.
Yeah, he burns him with a torch, which is something I found hilarious because it's like, so you're holding this cult in this area with like all this lava and all this heat, but yet somehow it's heat that breaks the spell.
It's far too complicated for this discussion.
That's a good point.
We're not getting into magic here. No, it's weird. But anyway, so he breaks Indy out of the thing, and then he's like, oh shit, I gotta save Willie because I love her. Or something like that. And then so they get in a big fight and they fight a bunch of people. Cool scene where one guy, they're fighting over there's a spinny thing, like a wheel that like raises the cage up and down that puts him into the lava. Indiana Jones knocks a guy on top of it and he gets like hit by the spoke as it comes down. That was sick. And then you get another one. There's the sound effects in the movie where people get punched are just asinine. It's like the cheesiest, cartooniest like punch sound you could hear. So then, as Quinn was saying, the endless chase scene is here. Like, We don't even need to talk about it. They just run and get in a fight, and then at the end, the blue team shows up to fight the red team. The blue team has guns, and the red team has bows and arrows. The blue team is like the Indian government, I assume.
No, the
And
British government, because
oh,
Britain
yeah,
was, this was part when India
yeah,
was still a part of the British Empire, and you see the general dude who was at the dinner with them as the troops came over.
hot info from Kudrow. Did not realize that was the same dude at the dinner.
Yep. Just a couple points about like some things within the chase scene.
Yeah.
There was the voodoo doll, which was pretty important. So like the come to find out, and this kind of goes back to when they first got to the palace.
Mhm.
The ruler, which Willie is like, oh, like I bet you the ruler needs a wife, trying to like
Mhm.
basically get it in to live here at the palace and live a lavish lifestyle. Turns out it's a little kid, like maybe 10, 11 years old, who happens to also be under the same spell that Indiana Jones gets put under. But they essentially use him, and he has a voodoo doll of Indiana Jones, and he just keeps poking him with some knife or something like that. And Indiana Jones in the middle of fighting the big muscle guy that he fights every movie, same as Raiders of the Lost Ark, with the airplane scene. How he's trying to fight some big buff guy that anytime he punches him, it just bounces right off of him. So that's one point. And then I just want to talk about the callback to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Or would it be a callback because it's a prequel?
He reaches for the gun, but it's not.
He reaches for a gun and he doesn't have it. They pull out their swords and he reaches for his gun and it's not there, so he has to actually fight him. So I thought that was pretty cool. But the final scene where he cuts the bridge intentionally I thought it was a little too long.
Right. Yeah, too long. If they cut that in half, it might have been okay, but it was so long.
Yeah, I think that goes back to like Indiana Jones as the hero, like he can overcome anything, like that sort of thing. So
yeah.
But yeah, then like Kudrow said, the British Indian army comes and saves the day essentially. So
then at the end, he gives the artifact back. So this is what I was like. I was ready to cancel Indiana Jones, and then he gave the artifact back, and I was like, "Fuck!" Until next time, Indiana. So I'm thinking we're gonna see, because I don't know if I've ever seen The Last Crusade. I don't remember it if I did. So we're gonna see there. We're gonna see if Indiana Jones gets canceled next week.
Yeah, well, you still got the Crystal Skull after that, but yeah.
That's more modern though.
We'll debate if we have to watch that one or not.
I mean, I feel like if we're gonna do those three, I feel like you got to go. It's all or nothing.
All right, maybe.
But
so general things about the movie then. I kind of hate both of the side characters. I especially hate Willie. She screams the whole movie, and I don't really like the child sidekick. Like, he just seems weird, and like I don't know. He acts like he doesn't seem like a child, and I don't know if that was like you have to imagine it's like a ploy so younger audiences like it more, but I really didn't like the child sidekick that much.
I actually thought it was kind of hilarious at one point. During the before they get to the chase scene with the cart, you see that kid just kicking all of the thuggies' butts. Just before they're getting onto the cart. Like, what is it? He takes like a wooden stick, hits like one in the chest, and then like three end up falling backwards over it. And he knocks like several of these grown men down when this kid's like, how old is he in the film?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm kind of cynical, so maybe the kid's fine. I'm just cynical. So
I think the kid is actually okay. I think Willie's probably my big one, where I'm just, I mean, in her defense, the one thing I will say in her defense, if any normal person were put in the position that they're in,
yeah, I'd be. I mean,
I feel like most of us would probably be a screaming mess, but. It doesn't, but I agree. It doesn't make for good, for the best movie.
Yeah. The scene with the plane, where the plane was going down. The plane had just like a car steering wheel in it. Is that a thing? Did old planes have cars like steering wheels like cars did? Did you notice that? Because I noticed. I'm like, wait, that plane has like a steering wheel, which seems
I
weird
don't
for a plane.
I don't think it was a steering wheel. I think it was the same thing as like airplanes have today, but it just had
Was it just
the
like
end of it was the end, like
because
it still went down, so you could still
yeah, okay,
push
because
and pull.
from what I remembered seeing that, I'm like, wait, was that a steering wheel? That was weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I didn't love it. I guess I can go first. So I had given the previous Indiana Jones a D plus. I fought with this one as a D or an E. It really falls in that second hour, but I didn't hate everything in the first hour. So I'm gonna go with a D on this one. I thought it was. I was thinking it might be an E before I watched it, but I'm gonna go with a D. I think that's kind of about where it sits. That's what I'm gonna have to go with.
Yeah, I think a D is a good rating. Not the best. Could have improved. Just it was too long, too many chase scenes, just overplayed. But
Yeah.
I noticed you didn't say anything about the music.
Oh,
The music was pretty similar, I thought.
Yeah, it
Loud
was
and obnoxious.
a bit too much, and just like the way that theme song comes in is so heavy. I began to hate the theme song more, but it's just because I had also watched the first movie recently, so I didn't hold that. It was same with the music, the same as the first one, kind of like too much, too in your face. Product of the 80s, I think, but I don't hate the theme song. I do right now because I've heard it too much, but it's I don't love the sound mixing. It kind of goes along with like the sound effects of the punching, the cartoony like punching sounds. But yeah. Where are you at, Kudrow?
I still can't believe I'm hearing this heresy about the music, but uh I don't know. I feel like especially too when I'm looking at like I'm kind of in that D to E range as well. Especially when I'm looking at everything they got wrong with the portrayal of India, everything they got wrong with Hinduism, and like I feel like I could really count. You could probably count on one hand the number of things they got correct with their portrayal of India and Hinduism. I think it was to the point where the Indian government itself like outright banned the film in their country.
That makes sense. It was fucked up. I would agree
Yeah.
because that was when I saw that I was like, oh, Indiana Jones is canceled.
It,
Should we cancel? Kudrow, are you saying we should cancel Indiana Jones? Are you on the train now?
I don't know. I'm gonna hold off on that until I watch the other two films.
All right, we're gonna hold off on canceling Indiana Jones.
But I'm with you because I've never seen The Last Crusade from start to finish, and I've never watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So
I saw Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in theaters.
but I don't know. Do we have a D? Yeah, I don't know. Do we have a D minus? Is it D minus allowed?
No, D plus, and then below that is E.
God dang it. All right. I'm gonna go with a D as well. That might.
All right,
Yeah.
get the D.
We'll
D
see.
across the board, a unanimous score of a D, which means it's not very good. So just listen to this conversation and don't watch the movie. Oh man. All right, so next week we are going to be watching Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So please join along with us and watch the movie before next week. Also, I think 2 weeks from now, which will be the last day of June, June 30th, we're going to have a spoiler discussion of Stranger Things season 4, part 1, because Stranger Things season 4 part 2 will come out the next day. So we're going to have a spoiler discussion that day, kind of go in depth on the Stranger Things season 4. It's been great so far, so watch that for sure.
Yeah. Season 4 part 1.
Yeah, and then other weekly media, we got Hollow Knight coming up in 2 weeks as well. We're all playing through that currently. So we'll move on to our topics for the week. So I don't know if you've been watching any gaming announcements, but they have been just nonstop. You had Jeff Keighley with Summer Games Fest. So you had Xbox Bethesda presentation, PC Gamer, PC Gaming Show, Capcom presentation. Then the Overwatch 2 was putting out new information. I think there might have been more too. Oh, there's like I saw some Final Fantasy stuff that come out today. But yeah, so we're going to talk about a lot of that stuff here for the rest of the episode. So, I guess we'll kind of start with the Xbox Bethesda presentation, and we'll kind of go in order of the games as they were presented. Just the ones we want to highlight. So, first game, Redfall, which actually there's two games I saw presentations of that are like kind of looter action co-op games. There was Redfall, and then the Capcom presentation had this game called Exoprimal. Seem to be kind of in a similar vein. So we'll start with Redfall. So it's a looter action co-op game, and like the enemies are all vampires. So think like Left 4 Dead, kind of that vein. And I watched the reveal of it, and it looks really interesting. Like I loved Left 4 Dead. I played a lot of what was that recent Left 4 Dead game? The Back 4 Blood.
Back 4 Blood, yeah.
I'd played a good amount of Back 4 Blood, and I love those like co-op, like level based things. And like Back 4 Blood had card systems. And the one thing that I wish they had more of was like development of like guns, characters, skills, stuff like that. I love that whole like character progression, building up weapons, like upgrading stuff. Like that's what draws me in on a lot of those games. And watching the thing for Redfall, like it looks fun. Like the gunplay looks good. It looks like a fun co-op game but I just want to see kind of the more of the progression in it. Like how can you upgrade guns? How can you upgrade characters? What's like, because you can play through those games once typically, and it's not too long and it's fun, but I look for like, can I like level stuff up, play harder hordes, like kind of like a Diablo style like looter, like where you loot, get to higher difficulty levels. Because I want to play that game with like 4 friends where we like go through the main game, then we get to like level up, upgrade our gear, play a harder version, and just continually like kind of build up our gear, almost like doing like dungeons and stuff where you build up to higher levels. So Redfall is really cool to me. Did you guys see Redfall at all?
I saw a little bit of it. Just kind of like the gameplay trailer. It looks interesting. I haven't played too many Bethesda games. I haven't really played Fallout or any of those titles. So
this doesn't really look like those games. It looks like it plays like a Left 4 Dead kind of. And like in the screens, it showed like screens of like a weapon upgrade screen where it showed like a character with skills, and then it showed like a page of all different weapons, which makes me think there's a depth of like leveling the characters up and leveling the weapons up, which I think would be awesome in that kind of game. I think I could play a ton of that because I mean, Kudro, you remember when we used to play zombies together?
Oh, yep, Call of Duty.
There was a time where we were at my house and we had 3 Xboxes hooked up. We went and rented 3 copies of like Call of Duty and played zombies on multiple Xboxes linked up. And I would just love to have that kind of thing, but where you can like progress and level up and do harder and harder things. Which I guess you could argue is kind of like what Destiny tries to do. I don't love the way Destiny feels though in the long term, but cool ideas. So yeah, that's Redfall. Watch the trailer for Redfall. It looks pretty cool. Like if you like Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood, I think that looks pretty fun. So next game, Silksong. Kudro, you probably have the most to say about this as a Hollow Knight player.
Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact, that right there is the hypest thing for me, and I actually tuned in to the video that showcase right at the end of that, so I had to rewind the video just to get that full footage. But yeah, it definitely looks like they've upped the speed of combat quite a bit, which I think will be a refreshing change of pace. Because Hollow Knight, as I'm sure you both have probably noticed by now, can be a little on the slower side, a little bit more methodical. But it looks like they're doing very well to make Hornet like her own, make her feel quite a bit different from Hollow Knight's protagonist, the Knight. So, and I mean the environments definitely look different than anything I remember in Hollow Knight. So, honestly, so far I really like what I see, and then the fact that they showed it at the Xbox showcase tells me that we're getting it within the year. We didn't get We didn't
Right.
get an exact date.
They did kind of imply that.
Yeah, we didn't get an exact date for it, but we know it should be coming within the next 12 months. So definitely hype about that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it looks interesting. I mean, Hollow Knight, I guess I won't get too far into Hollow Knight because I'm literally in the middle of playing it, but I like the art design of Hollow Knight. I think a lot of that stuff's really cool. Like I like all the little creatures and I love the animation stuff. So the art from like the perspective of like the art of it, I think it looks really interesting. So
Yeah. The art sort of reminds me of Cuphead. I don't know if you played Cuphead before.
Yeah.
I know of it. Yeah.
It's
yeah, because
I don't know. Hollow Knight not so much, but when I watched the Silk Song, it kind of gave me a little.
Yeah.
It seems like Silk Song is a little more heavily colored.
Yeah, I guess the way the colors kind of sit, like it almost looks like it moves more like a painting, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I could see that.
It looks interesting.
I think the original Hollow Knight, I think the environments were hand drawn. I may be wrong about that, but
okay. So maybe that's part of it.
I would assume they'd keep up the same trend with Silk Song, and the only reason the reason I suspect that is because like originally, fun fact, Silk Song was actually planned to be a DLC for Hollow Knight. It was not intended to be its own separate game.
No.
But then because Team Cherry they kept adding so much to it, they kept adding new ideas, they eventually just decided to make a full sequel.
Interesting.
Kind of like what they're doing right now with Breath of the Wild too. Because the sequel to that kind of came out of the same thought process.
Interesting. Gotcha. So next thing, huge thing, Riot X Game Pass. Holy shit. So in the presentation, a guy from Riot came on and was like talking about it, about like their collaboration with Game Pass. And basically you get all of Riot's games, everything unlocked through Game Pass. So that's League of Legends, you get all champions unlocked, Wild Rift, Valorant, you get all agents unlocked, and then Runeterra and Teamfight Tactics, you get, I'm not as familiar with those games, but you get a bunch of unlocks. So, I mean, to me, as a person who plays League of Legends, that's really cool. I don't know what other bonuses they might get. In a game like League, it takes so long to master champions that like once you have like your 10, you're not exactly buying a ton all the time, but it is cool that you could literally just play anybody if you had Game Pass as just another addition to Game Pass. And I think the bigger thing is if you're somebody who plays League of Legends, I feel like this is an awesome thing to bring more people into the game, because I feel like a ton of people will go play League of Legends if they're like, oh, I can have all the champions unlocked. And I think it works for Riot because they sell skins, so you can have all the champs and buy the skins.
Right. It's all free regardless, but Game Pass obviously gets the revenue from monthly subscription, and then Riot obviously, like you said, gets more users. I think from my perspective, I'm more on the Valorant side. I think the biggest thing is that it kind of alludes that Valorant's going to come to consoles. So right now, Valorant is PC only.
Oh, okay.
But now with them linking up with Xbox Game Pass, it seems like they're going to go to consoles, which I think we already knew that. We just weren't sure on a timeline. So this kind of makes it seem like it's going to be fairly soon. So we'll see how that works out with crossplay and all of that. But in terms of unlocking all the agents, you just have to play the game to do that anyway. It doesn't take a lot of work to do that. If you enjoy playing the game, you shouldn't have a problem with unlocking all the agents.
So I guess I'm curious about your feelings on it. So me as a person who plays League, I understand how hard it is to get into League and like really start to. So the all champions unlocked for me doesn't really matter that much. Because like I have all the champs I play. I have a bunch of, you buy champs with blue essence in League, and I already have a bunch of it because I'm like, I spend so much time mastering the champs I like main. Right. But for me, like I'm excited because I feel like that's gonna bring a bunch of people into the game who would not have played it otherwise. I mean, for Valorant, do you think that will bring in more people? Like, does that, or
On the PC side, I doubt it
Okay.
because, like I said, it already is free to play, and unlocking the agents, you just have to play the game. So I don't see that as being. I mean, it would cut
I guess
it
there's
would
a lot.
cut time off of it.
Yeah.
Like because Valorant is only 2 years old.
Yeah. So how many?
So
are there?
agents, I think there's only, I want to say 14,
Oh, okay, 14, right? Because
14, 15, 16, somewhere around there.
League of Legends is like 150, 150.
Right. So maybe it could be they're trying to get out in front of it. They're looking in the very, very long term of, once Valorant starts adding all these agents and you get into, banning agents and stuff like that, it would be helpful for a new player. But
Yeah.
I really think that they're just gearing up for a new base of players that are coming for console.
To me, this seems like such a good thing for Riot, honestly, because this just seems like a way for Riot to rake in so many more players, like people who would have not have played Valorant or League of Legends before. Just like, oh, cool, I have everything unlocked, let me play. And then, like, it's just them trying to hook in more players. I feel like it's
Right.
like such a huge thing for Riot in this case.
Yeah, it's a big revenue stream. Skins sell, so
Right.
for League of Legends and Valorant, and they price the shit out of those skins in Valorant, and I can only assume they do the
Let's go around the table here. What's the most expensive skin you've bought?
in Valorant.
In any game, what's the most?
In any game,
I'm assuming it's a Valorant skin, but what's the most expensive skin you've bought?
I don't know what the most expensive is, but
Yeah.
in terms of like gross amounts of money that I've put into a free to play game, I think I'm still ahead in Fortnite. Fortnite, I put in
right
probably close to $500 into that game.
I'm talking one single skin. Like, what's the
One
most
single skin?
Yeah.
The most expensive skins on Valorant are usually between like $35 and $45.
Yeah.
So not terrible, but
have you bought one?
I bought the most expensive thing I bought was they do bundles, so you get like a bunch of skins for all the different guns. I think I spent like $75 on a bunch of those skins. So
okay. So the highest individual skin I bought a $30 skin in League of Legends. They have their what do they call it? The ultimate skins. I have a $30 Lux skin, but that's probably the most single individual skin I've bought. Yeah, Kudrow, you probably you don't play a lot of multiplayer games. Have you ever bought any multiplayer skins?
I have not. I have no dog in this conversation.
Look at this man of purity.
The halo grows bigger.
So next game, Plague Tale Requiem. So Plague Tale was a game that had come out a few years ago at least, and like you played as this character, and you moved around in weird like almost like stealth sequences with a little bit of combat. But they announced a sequel to that, Plague Tale Requiem, and that looks pretty cool. Like there was a point where one of the children like summons rats to attack another guy. But that one looks pretty interesting. I don't know if I have any more to say about that one, but I'm interested to see where it goes. It looks like a further development of the first Plague Tale game.
See, I always hear like mixed. I hear like good things mostly about the first one. I haven't played it personally. It's been on my radar for a while now.
Yeah.
But
it's cool. It's kind of slow, I guess. It just kind of, I don't know, like I could see where you wouldn't like it because it just feels kind of slow through the whole thing, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But so do you control rats?
Well, so in the new trailer that like it shows this scene where like the one there's two children, like an older daughter and a younger kid, and like it shows some crazy stuff happening like with their abilities and the way they're like it seems more combative, like more combat heavy than the previous one maybe. But the graphics look good too, and it just looks like it might be a cool experience because the first one was very much about being like a cool experience, I feel like. Yeah. So next, Diablo 4 had some new gameplay. And that is I have 2023 first half that's supposed to come out. I've been back and forth on Diablo 4. I loved Diablo 1 when I was a child. I played Diablo 2. I bought Diablo 3 the day it came out. You can actually see the collector's edition behind me. But I had been kind of like back and forth on Diablo 4. Watching this and hearing them talk about it, where it's going to be cross-play, they're going to come onto the consoles, everything's going to be streamlined. And they literally had a section where they talked about endgame and how endgame is like a big focus. And they showed like Paragon boards, like a sphere grid from Final Fantasy X only for your Diablo character. And it just seemed like they had like endless grind shit at the end to like level up and play harder and harder difficulties, which is what Diablo's all about to me. So I'm back on board with Diablo 4. I'm interested to see where it goes now. I love the idea of having an end game in Diablo where it's like focused around that and building up your stuff and doing dungeons and trying to kind of grind through those. I think that would be a fun thing if like I got some friends to play that. That seems really cool. Do you guys have any interest in Diablo 4 at this point?
I do mostly. I mean, like I've played Diablos 1 through 3 as well. I've always been a pretty big fan of the games, but to be honest, though, it's like I enjoy it for the setting and the story.
Yeah, really. Okay.
I mean, the gameplay has always been pretty good for a hack and slash. I think the big thing with me is like,
hack and slash. It's a looter. It's all about the loot, man.
See, that's right. There's the part where it kind of loses me because like I don't have too much interest in spending countless hours grinding.
That's your problem, man. That's where all the fun is.
I like there's not a lot of joy for me to just do all these dungeons, just killing a bunch of enemies over and over and over again, hoping for one specific piece of loot to drop.
That's exactly what I want to do. I want to get the most cool glowing sword I can get. I want it.
That sounds like RuneScape. So I have a couple of friends that are playing RuneScape right now, and they're always talking about grinding.
Yeah, it's all those games. Like that's what makes them great. Phantasy Star Online.
I've never played any of the Diablos, so I don't really have anything to say. I'm sort of like Kudrow. Like I don't know. I'm not a grinder.
I want to tell you to play them, but just play 4 when it comes out.
Well, it'll be on Game Pass, right?
Yeah, fuck yeah, Game Pass.
Well, I think that may depend on whether or not the Microsoft's acquisition of Blizzard goes through or not. Which, to be honest, is probably gonna even determine whether or not I even play Diablo 4. Because, I mean, to be honest, I have my issues with Blizzard as a company, and I don't really know if I want to give Blizzard any more of my money. So,
fair.
That's fair.
I'll probably try Diablo 4, but yeah. Yeah. Wulong Fallen Dynasty from Team Ninja.
I wish we had, because it seemed like that was just one big cinematic.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't see a lot of gameplay, but if it kind of ends up turning into the spiritual successor to Neo, I'm all on board.
Is that what they're kind of billing it as?
That's kind of what I mean, I don't know. I can't say for certain because
trying to do it like a rebirth of Ninja Gaiden.
That could be too. Ninja Gaiden's actually a series that I've been meaning to play for a while, and I just haven't.
Hey, it's on Game Pass. I just saw like this last week, like Ninja Gaiden, like 3 of them popped up on Game Pass.
Oh crap! I may have to do that. But yeah. So for me, I guess I'm very curious to see where that kind of goes when we get more information on the game itself.
Yeah, I had kind of seen it, and like to me, it was like I like some of the things, but I'm like I really need to see like more gameplay and stuff to know if I have much interest in it. But yeah, it looks like it could be interesting. All right, on to the big one, Starfield. Allegedly controversial. I don't know. So I'm excited for Starfield. I would say this is the first point where I watched it. This gave me enough information and like stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, I as of right now, I would get Starfield day one and play it. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but at this point, I'm interested enough that I want to play it. What do you guys feel like Starfield?
Just watching the 15-minute kind of trailer / gameplay reveal, I guess you call it. It just seems very ambitious.
Yeah.
Which I know it's been in development for who knows how long, right? Like it's been
Sure.
being worked on for so long, but
Right.
my mind immediately goes to CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
Just when they got to the, you can explore every single planet, thousands of planets, but not only can you explore them, you can explore the entire planet, right? Like you can go everywhere on all these different planets, and there's thousands of them.
Yeah.
That's just mind blowing to me, and I'm curious to see how they do that. But
yeah,
if they can pull it off,
right,
it would be insane.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, those are kind of my thoughts.
I feel like, Bethesda being infamous as a company for its numerous glitches, game breaking glitch, like none of its games that have been released that I can think of have been like firmly ready to play day one. I feel like
was Skyrim bad day one? It had some graphical issues, I feel like, PlayStation and Xbox, but I remember Skyrim being pretty good day one.
I know there were quite a few glitches in it as well. I feel like with any of Bethesda's games, I always like giving them at least a year before I play it to iron out some of those kinks.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't think I've played a Bethesda game since Skyrim. I didn't play Fallout 4, but
yeah, Fallout 4. I mean, I don't know. I had a lot of fun playing Fallout 4 when it first came out. I can see the flaws in Fallout 4, but I think I played it for like 100 hours, maybe a little less than that. But
yeah, I guess my overall point is like, there are certain things that they showed in the game that don't really appeal to me personally, like the base building and such. That just to me that just always gets tedious. It's not really something I particularly enjoy. The exploration, I think, is something that I would really like.
Yeah. Did you like the shipbuilding? I thought the shipbuilding looked kind of cool. And I don't know if it's gonna be good, but I'm like, like when I saw the visuals of like bolting everything onto the ship, I'm like, okay, this could be fun. Like it's like I could see myself getting into like building some crazy ship and just flying it around to different star systems.
I feel like I'd be more interested like seeing what the ship combat looks like more than the actual ship building.
So in a follow-up interview with Todd Howard, he had talked about how the ship combat, it's like he said it's not like a dogfighting super fast-paced combat. He said it plays a little slower, but it's not just about the ship combat. It's like about you can do all these different ships and you can it's about the ship travel and stuff and like but it's not like a super twitch based like shooting kind of combat experience from what he said.
Okay.
Yeah. I just have a question. Does the acquisition change any of your, I guess, thoughts about Bethesda releasing a game?
It's hard to say. Microsoft's recent acquisitions, they've been relatively hands off, I think. They haven't so I don't think so. I think if anything, it would make me feel better about it at this point because Microsoft more recently has been kind of taking time to make games better before they put them out. But I can't say for sure. And like the way I kind of feel about Starfield, I feel like I don't really know if it's going to be good, but this trailer's made me interested to play it. And one thing I thought when I saw that base building shit and then like 1,000 planets, I'm like, okay, when are you going to tell us this is multiplayer? Because like to me, it's like, okay, put me on a server with thousands of other people in a solar system and we can go build bases and shit.
Right.
Like, that seemed kind of interesting to me. So, I like the mining, crafting, exploring stuff. That all looks really fun to me. But the Bethesda RPG stuff, if they hit it right, that stuff's awesome. like the character progression and all the traits you can build up. That stuff's cool. So we'll see how much they've improved on their systems, and I'm really interested to see how the generation of the planets is and everything. But like, if you ask me right now, do I want to play it day one? I do. I want to play it. I want to see what it is.
Right.
And honestly, I feel like now that I've seen all this stuff and we've talked about it, I feel like I might just not look at a single Starfield thing again until it comes out now.
Yeah.
And I might just play it day one and just go for it. And that seems like the way to go.
Gotcha.
But
my most recent kind of exposure to Bethesda is Fallout 76, which I didn't play,
Oh,
but I
okay.
did
Yeah.
consume a lot of kind of YouTube videos about its issues and how, you know, the complaints about how Bethesda really didn't do anything. Like they knew about all these, you know, glitches and hacks and exploits for their game
Mhm.
that was causing, you know, issues with being able to play it, but they didn't fix it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my question is does Microsoft, are they going to, you know, see that and then hold them accountable for that, you know, now that they're kind of a part of this bigger conglomerate? So I'll be interested to see, you know, like Kudra said, if there is issues when it first comes out, how long is it going to take for them to fix them, and whether they fix them at all, I guess. So
right. I mean, that's in a multiplayer game too, right? But
yeah, that's true.
You think about it though, and like they did Fallout 76, so like they're testing out their ability to run this system with multiplayer. Like I don't know. I feel like honestly, what would be really cool is me playing that game multiplayer with like having like a server of people. It sounds crazy. It sounds like a crazy undertaking, like an MMO, only it's a space with 1,000 planets. Sounds interesting. I don't know if it's realistic. You know, we don't know much about the game yet, but
well, I was gonna say, if it's multiplayer and it's thousands of planets, would it have to be MMO? Like, what point does it become an MMO? How many players?
Right. No, it'll probably be an MMO, but yeah. So interested to see it. Yeah. So that's Starfield. Other games that got announced. There's this game called High on Life from the creator of Rick and Morty, and that game looks kind of weird. I don't have much to say about it. Forza Motorsport, graphics look great, but you know, we'll see. Arc 2 with Vin Diesel was announced. Vin Diesel's like the face of Arc 2. Scorn, a game with a lot of disgusting gore. It looks like a horror survival game. Yeah, then there was the PC gaming show, which I didn't really see too much that really caught my eye. And the Capcom presentation where they talked about Exoprimal, which I had not seen until this, and it's another looter co-op action game, and there's customizing eco suits, and it looks like there's like different classes of eco suits, so it's another one of those, like you have a group with different classes, and it says you take place in 5-on-5 PvP and PvE, and you like compete with the other team to work through the PvE faster. And it seems like there's a lot of ability to like upgrade your mech and stuff. So hard to say with that one. Like, go watch the trailer if you're interested in that kind of thing. But not enough information to really say. Like, it just shows gameplay and it looks cool, but without knowing kind of the more specifics of the mechanics and the game modes, hard to say. Capcom presentation. They just showed like 3 different Resident Evil things along with Exoprimal. Their Resident Evil Village has like an update coming later this year that has like 3 other modes in it, like a story expansion, some sort of like versus game mode, a reimagining of Resident Evil 4 is in the works. I don't know if they said when that's coming out. And then the other thing that I just recently saw was Overwatch 2 had some more information drop, and they had like some of the developers come on and talk, and they talked about how they're trying to change a lot of things and it's going free to play. So I played a ton of Overwatch back when it came out for about 3 years, and then I haven't played it at all since then. and this is the first time I've ever had any interest in it since I stopped playing. It seems like they're actually trying to change some of the abilities around on the characters and maybe work on the balance issues. So I think that's interesting. Like it seems like a hard game to balance. So I don't know, but it seems like they are actually trying to fix some of those balance things and how that mode kind of works. Because if you played Overwatch in depth at all, you'd start to run into like what the metas were of the game, where it's like you have your shields and shields became like broken in a way, and it just had some issues. So maybe if they could fix some of that, that could turn out really well. So I'm interested to see where they go, but who knows how well they can balance it with the shields.
Yeah. Within that, like you said, they did mention kind of going down to the bones and trying to readjust everything, and
right.
Going free to play, I think, will definitely help them bring in new users, because I always wanted to play the original Overwatch. I just never pulled the trigger on purchasing it. If it was free to play, then I obviously would have played it, and I probably would have even bought some of the loot boxes, or which they're moving away from now. But
loot boxes are gone, and they're going to be having like a lot more heroes come out. It sounds like one hero every 2 seasons, which is like, I guess the seasons are going to be 9 weeks. So every like 18 weeks, you see a new hero. So it sounds like they're trying to prioritize having a lot of new content, which is interesting. But for me, it's like, can you fix the balance of that game?
Right. That's what most. Yeah, I mean, that's what most successful continuous updating multiplayer games have to do nowadays. Is you have to constantly being updating and balancing, and like you said, if they can fix the balancing issues, then maybe that helps.
And I don't think balancing Overwatch is an easy task, because Overwatch has extreme abilities in it. And like you look at something like Valorant, where there's abilities, but not as extreme, I feel like, as Overwatch abilities. Where Valorant still falls back on that first person shooter gameplay. Whereas sometimes Overwatch characters can have completely different kits. So
totally different weapons. Like you're in Valorant, you're always having the same weapons regardless of. I mean, there's special like knives and stuff like that, or a rocket launcher, but that's very limited. Whereas in Overwatch, you have different weapons for each person, so it's tough.
We'll get to see where that goes in October. Do you guys have any other topics for the week?
Not that I can think of. That covers it.
I think so.
Email your comments or questions to srankmediaclub@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. Next week's group media experience, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So be ready for that. Watch the movie with us if you want. 2 weeks from now, Hollow Knight discussion and rating, and discussion of Stranger Things season 4. We stream this show live every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific. The audio version uploads to podcast Friday morning. You should be able to find it in all your podcast platforms. Follow us on Twitch if you like what we're doing. Subscribe to us on your podcast platform of choice, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys. Thanks for watching.
See ya.